Hey guys, this is going to be a video about how for loops work in C, Java, C++, or Objective-C, or any languages is based on C. So let's get this started. One first thing that I want to tell everybody, and especially beginners, is that a for loop is exactly the same as a while loop. Anything that can be done with a for loop can be done with a while loop. There is absolutely no difference. The only difference is in readability. A for loop is just more readable than a while loop. Everything is in one line. Everything is in one line, so it's a lot more readable. Everything, the condition, the initialization of the variable that controls the for loop, the incrementation or the decrementation of the variable that controls the for loop, they're all in the same line, so you just know how the for loop is working. It's decrementing, incrementing, the condition, and all of that. But in a while loop, as you see, everything is a little bit scattered. And if the while loop has a lot of content in it, the incrementation with the decrementation is just at the end and you have to scroll down. It's less readable. But if you prefer while loops or for loops, just use any of them. They both work in almost any situation. Just the for loops are sometimes easier to use. Not a lot easier, but a little bit easier. And if you use them a lot in your code, and you find for loops to be easier, then it's going to hugely affect your code. So let's. So what's in here? This is a for loop that I've written down, and this is an equivalent while loop to this for loop. Why did I do this? I did this because, just like I said, anything that can be done with a for loop can be done with a while loop, and this is an equivalent while loop for this for loop. Just run it. They are exactly the same. Exactly the same. They work exactly the same. So let's read this and review the other one. In this in this while loop, we initialize the variable, and I suppose that you're already familiar with a while loop in C before you actually watch this video. This is a condition, and this is the incrementation. So you're already familiar with a while loop, so you know what I'm talking about. Instead of doing them scattered like this, you actually do them in the same order in here. You put the initialization, you put the condition in here, and the incrementation at the end. Again, you put the initialization first, you put the condition, and then you put the incrementation or decrementation, the controller. You separate them by semicolons. Now, sometimes you will find commas in for loops. They are totally different. They are not the same. Commas are not the same as semicolons in here. In here, conditions and initialization and controller variable needs to be separated by semicolons, not commas. Commas are used for if you want to make several initializations. For example, what if you wanted to say in here z is equal to just 1, and you wanted to use that somehow in here. For example, you wanted to print that this is z. What was d? Just print that. Okay, there's 1, and you wanted to, for example, increment the z in here, and you wanted z to always be and z smaller than 10 as well. So how does this work? Let's see. This is z 1, 2, 3, 4. This works exactly as we wanted to. A little bit messed up because there's no backslash n here. This is better. This is z 1, 2, 3 until 9. Now this works. This obviously works. You have done this multiple times. What if you want to do this the same thing as you have done in here with a for loop? And it's going to be a lot more readable if you do it in a for loop. Now, look what I'm going to do. just equal to n, yeah, and z is equal to 1, just call it, instead of z, just call it b. b is equal to 1, and put the condition in here, b smaller than 10, b plus plus, and you want to somehow print it in here, same way, this is b is going to work exactly the same. Notice what happens in here. It's the same exact order. X here is the same as Y. It's not 10, it's 0, I'm sorry. Z here is the same as B. We initialize, the only difference is that it's a lot more readable this way. It's separated by commas. You need to notice the difference between the semicolons and the commas in here. The semicolons are between two things that are the same, of the same nature. These two are initializations. These two are obviously separated by an and, or you can use a comma in here, and is better, but it works exactly the same. And yeah, two conditions in here, they're separated by commas. So commas separate two things of the same nature. Two conditions are separated by commas. Two incrementations or decrementations are separated by commas, but an incrementation and the condition, they are of two different natures, so you'd put a semicolon between them. Now, you know, you can do as much initializations or put as much conditions as you want, or put as much incrementations or decrementations as you want in here, whatever you want, z minus minus, b1 minus minus, or whatever you want, of course, if you have defined these variables already. Now, one last thing that I need to cover in here is that you actually don't need to have anything in here. Let me clear this up. You can just leave this empty. I know this just looks weird. This is an infinite loop. A loop that has no controller at all. No variable, no condition, no incrementation. It's just an infinite loop. Look at that. Instead of that, just print hi. Hi there. Okay. Let's delete this. Oh. This will work. Yeah, it's an infinite loop. Now, what does this mean? This means that you do not have to have the full devolved outlook of the for loop. You don't need to have an initializer in here and a condition in here and an incrementation or a decrementation in here. It doesn't have to look like this. You can remove the condition and leave the initialization and the incrementation or decrementation alone without the condition. You can leave the condition and remove this. You can remove the initialization itself and leave the condition and the incrementation or the decrementation. So let's see how this looks. And x equals 5. X is smaller than 10. What if I didn't put any condition, any incrementation? X is going to be 5 forever. It's not going to increment or decrement. This is an infinite loop as well. I don't know why I deleted that. Let's leave that. It's an infinite loop as well. I hate infinite loops. Anyway, let's close this. So, what if you wanted to remove the initialization itself and just put it in here? And make an incrementation in there. This will work. It works. It printed hi there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Exactly what we expected. We initialized it in here and we left this empty. So let's recap all of what we said. A for loop A for loop has this default outlook, and I will leave this in the description. First, you put the initialization, then you put the condition, and then you put the incrementation or decrementation. Anything that can be done with a for loop can be done with a while loop. You don't have to have all the things in here. You can just remove the initialization or the condition or the incrementation or whatever you want and just put it outside, remove it at all. Just do whatever you want with it. You can leave it all empty. You can put multiple initializations, not just one, multiple ones separated by commas, multiple conditions separated by commas, multiple incrementation or decrementation separated by commas. So that's about it. Um, Thank you for watching.